News 98.1. We're looking at the news stories making the headlines across the country. Zibby here and our analysts are joining us on the program this morning. As always, we'd love to hear from you. Let us know what your thoughts are. The WhatsApp number is 0809 4440981. You can also tweet at Smooth981. We're streaming live as well up on our YouTube channel. It's Smooth981 FM Lagos. You can catch the live stream and post a comment as well. Our analysts this morning, Joseph Obari and AB Bozimo. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. Great to be here. Good morning to all the wonderful listeners.
Good morning, Lagos. Good morning, everybody.
All right. Well, let's start off with Premium Times. Now, the president has conferred Nigeria's highest national honor, the GCFR, on President-elect Bola Tinubu. The second highest national honor, the GCON, was also conferred on Vice President-elect Kashim Shettima.
Okay. I mean, it's become almost like once you get that office, these honors are given to you. I mean, nobody can begrudge the president the right to confer these honors on people. But I don't know. I don't know whether people shouldn't earn these things. I mean, maybe there is nobody else who is going to confer it on them, unless maybe somebody else, another president comes in and gives them such titles. So it's almost like automatic. Once you become a president, you get the title, you get the honors. If you become the vice president, you get, and all that. So, but there are criteria, nominations are made, and these individuals in their own rights have, they have achieved certain things. They've served the country in various capacities. So, while beyond the honors, we want to see work. That's the truth. We want to see more work done. And if I have my way, I would rather say, let's wait until we see what you can do, then we can give you more honors, you know. But then it's been given, and it's an annual thing. The president does that. He has the privilege. He chooses who he gives it to, and he has performed that duty as excellently as he should. And that's more to it. It's just for us to wait and see what this in the new incoming administration will bring, and the performance of the president-elect and his team, and whether they'll merit all the honors they've got.
I was curious, and I realized that there's such a thing as a baton of service. I had no idea such a thing existed in Nigeria's, constitution, and I understand that was handed over to the president-elect along with his transition documents. I imagined that kind of thing would happen on the 29th, but bringing forward a couple of days, that's okay. That's also maybe well within the discretion of the president and the presidency. But like you said, these honors have, over the years, they've been given to different people, and it could be debated whether or not they merited the honors. We shall wait and see the latest set of honorees, how they shall perform. Maybe with the weight of the honor on them, they might feel compelled to do better and do more.
All right. Well, let us know what your thoughts are. 0809 444 981. From The Guardian, Nigeria gets 7 oil regulations amid the 46.16 billion naira stolen and missing crude.
This is one of those numbers heavy stories where you hear about a staggering sum like $46.1 billion of petroleum supposedly stolen. And right within the story, there's also a report that Nigeria has no exact figure on crude oil output as it stands, because evidently we have no metering in place. So out of curiosity, I just went to look at the cost of an oil meter. I don't know the specification, but just cost of oil meter. And I saw figures ranging between $100 and something to up to $10,000. Imagine, and I imagine, of course, if you're exporting crude oil on a daily basis in millions of barrels, to have a high changeover of these things. So let's assume you change an oil meter every month, a $10,000 oil meter every month. It'll only cost you $1.2 million to actually measure your oil output. Now, talk about the legal side of things. Let's not talk about the quote unquote stolen side of things. I don't know about you, but there was a time they were doing a reticulation project in the city of Port Harcourt, putting water pipelines in place. The disruption was so severe that you cannot hide and put pipes. So when they tell us that 50-something pipelines are attached to the main trunk of Nigeria's exports, that cannot have happened in secret. Evidently, people have overseen the process and made sure it happens. $46.1 billion stolen actually is just in line with the 41 point something billion dollars of loans we supposedly took to do, for external debt, supposedly to pursue infrastructure development. The summary of this is that where the economic team of the president and the president had opportunities to tighten the ship of state and harness the God-given resources and use those revenues to develop the country as they ought to, they looked askance, refused to deal with oil theft over the past few years. We've had some of the lowest levels of oil production, if you want to call it that, over the past few months and years. And we have gotten into huge debt. Overall, the economic and security policy surrounding our oil sector has been an unmitigated disaster. And amidst this, we're making brand new regulations for upstream, downstream, this methane, gas flaring. Nothing wrong with those, new regulations coming in place, but what are you doing about the entire environment under which this oil exploration is going on? I just think opportunities have been lost and far gone. It's not a matter of standing still when the rest of the world is going forward. We have actually gone backward. So in contrast to the rest of the world, we are in a much worse place than we were about 8 years ago.
All right, let's go on to WhatsApp. Dami from Ikeja says our society has a well-developed passion for jamborees and frivolities rather than honest labor and real achievements. We've had people over the years who have made up the honors list who have been less than honorable in a very long time. All right, from Punch. Now, residents in Lagos have raised concerns over the large number of child beggars on the streets. Now, there's certain areas that are listed like Alabarago, Oshodi, Berga, Seven Up, and areas around Ikeja as well, where children who are quite young are seen begging and in some cases harassing passers-by in their need to get money from begging.
It is a very serious social concern. We don't, you see, a society that does not have some kind of safety net for the poor ends up with situations like this where you have people who are homeless roaming the streets. But begging in some part of Nigeria has become an industry on its own. Some religious beliefs are that alms should be given to the poor. So there has to be those who will receive these alms anyway. And so some people cash in on that teaching and make themselves destitute and who should receive alms for other persons. But when it becomes, when these beggars acquire an entitlement syndrome, as we see in some cases. I mean, there have been situations where in some cities I drive and then somebody is hanging on your window, begging for alms, and if you're not giving, they are banging your windscreen or whatever, doing some almost virtually threatening you. It's a problem, and I think the Lagos state government has to really I'm sure there is a Ministry of Social Welfare or whatever. They need to really bear down on this, get these children off the street, take them somewhere. And on a lighter note, there is a book called Beggar Strike, where the beggars decided to go on strike, and in a society where the minister himself needed to give arms in order to get promoted as a senior minister. And of course, he couldn't find the beggars to give them the arms because they have been quarantined somewhere, and there was a whole lot of chaos. But the point is that something should be done. And even in that context of that fiction, the minister had to put them somewhere, provided a place for them to stay, where they can be taken care of by the government or whatever. If they don't have homes, then something should be found to because it is not even encouraging. It's not a site for tourists, people coming to the country to be harassed by beggars on the streets. And just like we are saying, they can become a menace. And from there, the crimes can be committed. If somebody begs you for money and you don't give and is harassing you, then the person can actually become a criminal eventually. That's the danger.
All right,
We're
let's
talking
go
here
on.
about.
Okay, go ahead, Amy.
We're talking here very briefly about children's rights. Children from the ages of 6 to 15 or so are seen on the streets. That means they're not in school. That means their futures are already being determined right now. A person who does not have an education is already a liability to themselves and the larger society. So this must concern many of our elected leaders who are able to insulate themselves from these people in tinted out, bulletproof vehicles with lots of people in a convoy with horsewhips flogging you out of the way. This must concern them because somewhere, it may not be you directly, but a relation of yours may be harassed by these people. And as Joseph said, they may act criminally against your person or anybody. The society cannot stand with such, distortions.
Bass says we have an executive order on transition from one government to another signed by the president, and we've never had this before. This is perhaps why some of the things playing out may look strange. And Yinka says, maybe from someone that works in the field, especially the project design arm of oil and gas, there are metering facilities all around oil installations, both onshore and offshore. As a matter of fact, when one is installed, there's always a backup in place. So yes, we have the values. However, the problem is the human factor around. Who steals the oil? Not the president, but the fella who refused to do his or her job. There is a pressure drop online, and yet there is a need to refuse to report on it. That's an obvious pointer that the line has been tapped somewhere. So the oil theft talk is debatable because it's all due to poor and incompetent bookkeeping. Okay, and let's move on to another message.
That's a very, very, very insightful response from that listener, because there is a whole lot of misconception around metering. People believe the oil industry is not metered and all that. There's a whole lot of misconception. So it's a different discussion altogether. But the listener is very right. There are metering all over. But
100%.
Yeah, what people are demanding is point-to-point metering. But that's unnecessary. Actually, it's a waste of money.
And accountability overall.
Accountability, that's the word. That's what we need.
Godwin from Bagada says these children are part of our school children. The government should ensure that they get into school. You're listening to Freshly Pressed on Smooth 98.1. The show continues. Stay with us. Okay, back on in
I almost missed the show. It's the Marian that woke me up from sleep. I tell you.
Wow. I was ready.
I woke up at 6 and then I switched off my alarm and went switched back to sleep. I couldn't believe it.
You're in transition mode. Maybe you are in transition mode too.
It's so strange.
No, the person is very right about the metering. They say in this fluid dynamics, the moment there's a breach, you can tell. So there is no way that people are connecting pipes. You have to weld, you have to cut, you have to weld, join. You can't do that secretly. They were doing pipe work in Port Harcourt. They will dig up the whole place, bury it. You can't do it secretly.
Let me explain how it's done. They first of all cause a minor oil spill on your line.
Okay.
So you shut down the line.
Okay.
To do a repair, and then they use that period to
opportunity.
Yes,
Okay.
you're talking about kilometers.
Exactly.
Tens of kilometers of pipeline. You are not policing.
Okay, we're going on.
Okay. Okay.
You're listening to Freshly Pressed on Smooth 98.1. Our analyst this morning, AB and Joseph. The WhatsApp number to be a part of the conversation is 0809 444 0981. You can also tweet at Smooth981. And we're streaming live on YouTube. Just search for Smooth981 and you can catch the live stream. Let's move on to Daily Trust. Now, Minister of Aviation and Aerospace, Senator Hadi Sirika, has commissioned a 2.2 billion naira expansion of the first phase of the General Aviation Terminal of the Murtala Mohammed Airport, and that increased the capacity from 254 passengers to 1,024.
That's a significant increase. I mean, we're talking about many times more. He's just commissioning it. It's supposed to increase facility, capacity, central air condition, fire alarm sprinklers, as well as an aviation mini clinic. So it's quite a multifarious project, and I imagine it has additional departure halls, VIP protocol, all sorts of things. Hopefully it'll address some of the deficiencies that people currently experience going to the airport. Airports are a significant part of an economic overall master plan. They're often the first place that tourists, for instance, may encounter when they come to your country or to your region. And so they are a very important part of a big picture. The thing is, with the commissioning it now, we've had these deficiencies forever. I've talked about the velocity of projects, commissioning, contract awards and all that. It's just interesting. There is no hint in my statement about fraud. I'm just intrigued at how this is going on. And when speaking also about this aviation sector, today, Friday, I understand from the minister, is the day we shall expect to see the first aeroplane that will hopefully operate through this terminal, because we're told that Air Nigeria will function during this administration. Let's wait and see. But it's a good thing. I hope we can learn lessons in project management and delivery through the implementation of this project, because the more you do things, the more you become expert, the better you are at it. And we can now tackle other related or similar projects.
Okay, let's look at some messages coming through. This one is from Ned. And Ned says, I've done research with an offshore service provider, and an industrial oil and gas meter could cost up to 300,000 USD, but they do not need to be changed for years. And Ajayi says, given the highest honors to the president as one of the legacies the military imposed on the country, like the analyst said, it would have been more appropriate to give them after meritorious service. And let's see, this one is from Gilbert Musa, and he says, on underage children begging, have we asked ourselves who are the parents of these children? Are we thinking of population control in Nigeria? In 1960, we had a population of 50 million. What is the figure today? Well, the census is not happening at the moment, but I'm sure we'll know very soon.
We're going to know.
And Austin says, the influx of child beggars is getting too much. Sometimes if they don't receive money, they scratch the vehicle with sharp objects as well. All right, from Premium Times, Nigeria's incoming president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, should ensure that human rights are central to all policies, both home and abroad. And this is according to the Human Rights Watch.
You know, I was just talking about safety net, and of course, this is also one of the things the Human Rights Watch is concerned about, and they think that the new administration needs to pay attention to this, protection of people in conflict regions, respect and protect media freedom and the right to free expression, bolster the social safety net, to tackle entrenched poverty and inequality rather, protect and promote the rights of internally displaced people, and to adopt a foreign policy that centers on human rights. So these are critical things. And when we talk about rights, we say that inalienable, that's, you can't take it out of the human being. That's what it is. Like, as long as a human being lives, these rights are like part of his existence. So, and then we grossly abuse these rights in Nigeria. Though flagrantly, we just don't care. I mean, we have people are living in penury in this country, and they were put down there by their government. It's like people have been marched down and somebody has a boot on their throat, choking them to death. That's the picture. So everywhere a citizen of Nigeria is not really himself. We have policemen slapping people all over, beating people, fighting, kicking people, fighting even lawyers. They fight lawyers in police stations. Policemen do that. Nobody has any right to claim in Nigeria. So the government has to stand up and really take this seriously. This call may seem so frivolous, but it's so important. I mean, when they checked on the last time with the world marked the Press Freedom Day, Nigeria didn't rank very high in terms of countries where the media is really free to express itself. Journalists get harassed for writing anything, things, and so on. People can't express themselves. You become an enemy of state by just saying something. Yeah, relatively compared to some other places, we're better, but with Nigeria, with the length of time we practice democracy, we have left the military era behind. We should have people be able to express themselves. And so other rights should be protected. But then you see, just like Ibi said, you will have a high cost of governance. These people who feel insulated from all the challenges of society don't seem to care about anything about that other than themselves. And that's where we are. And that's the reality. And so we have leaders who can make sacrifices, who can say some of the perquisites of office, they can drop them just to save money in order to put it back in the society to defend some of these rights. Then it's right. We can't even claim that health, for example, is a right in Nigeria that should be, or education for that matter, like children roaming the streets, right? It's written there in the constitution, government will do whatever it can. That part of the rights are now second class. But in other societies, education, health are prioritized as rights to the person, to the living person, or it's also in Nigeria. So it's sad, and we hope that there will be changes. That's all everybody is saying. This is a summary of what this part says. There should be change.
Ironically, I don't even think the leaders of Nigeria have to make any sacrifices. They just have to have the right perspective and framework to understand why it is they are there. If the purpose of a thing is not understood, abuse is inevitable. You are in office to make the lives of the people you ostensibly serve better. Nobody's saying take your perks away from you, but make sure that monies are properly directed to the right sectors. That's not a sacrifice, that's a responsibility, it's a duty. But I know the sense in which it means sacrifice, because there's such a large gap between the life they are living, bulletproof, air-conditioned, and coddled, versus the suffering of over 133 million in Nigeria. So that gap has to be bridged.
All right, let's go on to our messages. This one is Toby from Ikoyi. He says, the present Lagos administration is too slow for my liking, and it makes me miss the proactiveness of the former governor, Fashola. And PJ says, on the child beggar issue, population is not our problem, mismanagement is. From Punch, the joint health sector unions and Assembly of Healthcare Professional Associations have directed their members to embark on an indefinite strike.
Okay. This is news, or this is just a repetition of what we've heard repeatedly for the past few years. Evidently, at no point in the past few years has there been an ability by those in office to actually address some of these issues. I would wager that a lot of these strikes are not only because of the lack of facilities and support that the people feel, but whenever they view the optics of those in office who persistently choose to seek healthcare elsewhere. At that point, as a worker in the sector here, you say, why on earth are our facilities and our remuneration not also made conducive for you to consider us? So they are going on strike. That means the incoming government will meet them on strike. Hopefully, whatever issues, and there are many, many listed that they feel are not addressed, will be addressed coming, because right now we've heard repeatedly by the existing president up till Monday that if anybody disturbs him, he will go to Niger Republic. So he has already signed off fundamentally. He could not be bothered with anybody going on strike because he already has a plan for Nigeria, Niger, or other parts. Beautiful. He's leaving the country. He, his minister, everybody, they are saying, oh, send me a text message. I'm not ready to talk with you about the issues, when journalists contacted them. And that just tells you where we are. We have not been able to, as Joseph said, prioritize things like healthcare. The human being has to be healthy in order to function and be productive. We've not been able to educate our people so that they can be more productive and take their place in the global economy of knowledge workers. Rather, we've prioritized some projects, some maybe white elephant at this point, but give them credit. We've taken on debts like a ship with a broken hull underwater. And I'm hoping that in the next transition, we'll be able to stabilize the state and actually address these highly trained workers who add immeasurably to Nigeria's national development and health sector.
Joseph, do you want to add?
Well, I think EB has virtually captured every bit of it, but the turn is that it's like a leaking roof. Your water, your boiling water this end, you're running, then this leak starts leaking there, and you run there. It was the resident doctors a few days ago who were going to go on strike, warning strike, and because they are unhappy with what's going on in the health sector. Today, it is the other workers in the health sector. I mean, you know, just like we look at it, you say you can't afford to pay doctors certain amount or the health workers certain amount of money. They look at your lifestyle and they can't justify, they can't understand this disparity. So that's the point. So when you say there is no money and you're living lavishly on taxpayers' money, then it's no justification for whatever you're saying. So that's why it becomes difficult for workers to appreciate any government that gives excuse that there is no money to increase their salary or give them the welfare, what they need as in order to do their work, or provide even the tools for them to do their work. Because they look at the lifestyle, the convoy, number of convoys, all the other benefits and so on that the government or officials award themselves, and they can't see any justification, any basis for saying that there is no money for them who are doing an essential duty to even be able to function and to live well. Because the gap is too much, like a piece, it's so wide. So I don't know how you can convince anybody, you know, in this situation.
All right, we're out of time. I'm going to read one last message. This is from Abbas. He says, Lagos State passed the law on street begging, which it failed to enforce. What is the government afraid of? They should be proactive. That's all the time that we have for Freshly Pressed this morning. Thank you for your messages. Thank you for listening. And special thanks to our analysts as well, Joseph and Abi, for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Always a sweet time to be here.
Always mine.
Thanks.
Have a great weekend.
All the best, Lagos, everybody. I wish you a happy weekend.
Thank you so much. That's it for Freshly Pressed, but do stay with us. There is a lot more to come on the Smooth Breakfast. Thank you. Bye.
All right.
Cheers. And thanks for the cake.
Maybe
Zibby, thanks very much for the cake.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. Bye.
It was great meeting you, Joseph. Hi. Take care. Bye.
Wonderful.
Oh, the meetup.
Yeah, we did.
Oh, yes.
Nice.